the moving shot, and specifically drone-mounted cameras, and how their implementation can and is changing audience and industry expectations. But first, a brief history on the moving shot and its influence on the visual dialogue. One advancement, almost taken entirely for granted now, is the camera dolly. Its first use dates back to 1914 with Giovanni Pastrone's Cabiria, in which the dolly's inventor, Segundo de Chamon, was the director of photography and special effects. Within years of its use, the dolly-mounted camera had evolved into use with cranes and other objects. The moving shot allowed for a more complex visual dialogue with the audience, and as such, for more complex narratives. When viewing modern films, audiences infer huge amounts of meaning from the way a shot moves in relation to the subject matter, whether they're moving past an object, following something, running away. Filmmakers have found ways to couple other visual techniques with a moving shot, such as combining a zoom with a dolly movement, or panning with a moving shot to hold a single focus point. Some films began to break away from a conventional flat dolly in favor of a shaky hand cam, not necessarily because of the type of shots it can get, but from the visual dialogue it creates with the audience, perhaps most notably in modern cinema with the Blair Witch Project. The same is true for adjusting a shot to shake using post-effects to convey, say, an explosion, for example, and of course, the good old Hollywood sweeping shot of scenery, achieved mostly through helicopter, until now. Which brings us to drones. Now, the popularization of drones is a relatively new thing. Markets from hobbyists has allowed for a proper industry to emerge, but their noted use in films is quite scarce. Up until 2014, commercial drone use was illegal in the US, and as such, not technically allowed for filmmaking. Sources claim that they had been used prior to this, but due to the indistinguishability from a typical helicopter shot, well, it's hard to prove, but it's certainly probable. After all, the cost of running a drone is significantly cheaper to that of a helicopter. Since the ban has been lifted, directors have confirmed the use of drones, though not for anything particularly groundbreaking, mostly that Hollywood scenery. Whilst we live in the age where movies can be made almost entirely in post-effects, there are still conditional hazards that make drone use a pain, namely weather and adjusting a non-steady shot. But this is just the beginning. Further technological advancements are always imminent, and drone use is still very much on the ground floor. I suppose one notable use of drone camera work would be in Chappie, in which a character is pursued by armed drones. Similar to the Blair Witch Project, Chappie uses the drone camera to portray authenticity. A similar technique is used in the 2016 Blair Witch sequel, in which a character brings a drone-mounted camera as an explorational device. Both films showcase quite simple, albeit self-aware use of drone-mounted cameras. However, one might infer that it's just the beginning of a larger trend. More recently, drones have been used to great effect in TV, with HBO's Game of Thrones and Narcos, the Netflix original. It will be interesting to see what techniques emerge with the capabilities of this new technology. Like a helicopter, a drone has a 360-degree access to different shots on the subject matter. Unlike a helicopter, drones can fit into tight spaces and be piloted remotely for cheap. Already we are beginning to see these technologies becoming more accessible. Personal drones such as the Lily camera showcase how newer drones are increasingly simple to use and provide new and interesting shots. Whilst for the time being, independently developed drone films typically share the Hollywood enthusiasm for landscapes, as the technology becomes even cheaper, we'll begin to see it in the hands of more independent filmmakers. Technological advances in smaller, high-definition cameras will allow for smaller drones to be suitable for filming as well. I hope this has been illuminating to some of the possibilities of drone technologies in combination with new film techniques. Thanks for tuning in.